Oh, my friends, material issues on Wednesday night. What is it, the 13th? There's my friend, David Bash. Welcome, everybody. Material issues, episode number nine. Number nine? Number nine? Am I right,
Yes,
David?
yes, number nine, and very appropriate that you did the Revolution 9 phrase because, as our guest, noted Beatles auteur John M. Borack, will be on in about 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Um,
he's anxiously waiting in the wings, and we're anxious to get him on and talk to him about a lot of things going on in his Beatle world, so to speak. But what else is going on with you, David? How you feeling? All good?
I'm feeling all good. Do you dig the Hank Aaron jersey here?
I love it.
Authentic 1957 reproduction.
An authentic reproduction. See,
Very
that's
authentic reproduction. I think an authentic original would be worth more than my house right now. Uh,
exactly.
so
Um,
I'll have to make do. But this company did a really nice job on it, and it was much less than you normally can get it for. See, some of those Facebook ads are actually worthwhile. I know
this was
most people, you get ads, and it's like, I don't want to see any more of these. But I mean, occasionally you get one that's right in your wheelhouse, and it's like, oh, I think I want that. And this was one of those times.
well, as long as you
But
research it and you know what you're doing, you're good. I saw an ad like Facebook Marketplace the other day, and someone was selling a T206 Christy Mathewson card. Turn it on the back, and it was signed Ty Cobb for $25. Now he had dirtied it up and made it look original.
right.
So just for fun, I sent him a text saying, "Is this a reproduction or is this real?" And his response was, "Well, it sure looks real to me."
Oh, yeah.
That card's worth $5,000, and he's selling it for $25. Yeah.
That card autographed by Ty Cobb even would be
Oh,
worth
that
a
would.
hell of a lot more than $5,000.
Yeah. So
If
I
they could
thought
authenticate that autograph, we'd be talking six figures.
they
I'm
can't even
sure.
authenticate the plastic. It was.
No,
It was
forget it. That thing's fake. But
but
anyway, what's going on my end? Well, I'm happy to say that we have two new IPO festivals scheduled. One in New York in from November 12th through 14th at the great venue Arlene's Grocery. We're very glad to be back there. Right, yeah, we were there from '01 through '04, and we
I
haven't been
remember.
there since. So this is going to be, I think this is going to be a really triumphant return. I'm very, very confident. And then the following week, November 18th through 20th, we'll be in Boston at the venue we've been at the last few times we've done IPO, PA's Lounge. I want to thank them very much for having us back. We always have a great time there, and it kind of feels like family. I love doing IPO in Boston. Also, so many friends. So yeah, I'm looking forward to those. And of course, we have Arlington coming up in September, Arlington, Texas, hosted by
Wow.
Spider, or sponsored rather by Spider Pop Records. I want to give a big shout out to them.
Nice.
That'll be a lot of fun. And then next year we have Chicago scheduled and Liverpool. So we, little by little, we're getting
Yeah.
back. We're getting back into the swing. It'll
But
take a while
New
with
York is the
pandemic.
first one, though.
Pardon?
New York is going to be the first one
No,
back.
no, Arlington.
Arlington will be first.
That'll be in September, and then New
Okay.
York and Boston in November.
Okay. All right. All
Um,
right.
Post pandemic, it's you have to deal with the fallout. A lot of venues, unfortunately, closed. I never knew Arlene Francis owned a grocery. No, she just worked there. Bennett Cerf actually owned it.
That's awesome, man. I'm very excited. I'm sure there's a lot of artists that are chomping at the bit to get involved with that. So I'm sure those shows are just going to be packed with great stuff, as they always
Yeah,
are. But
I think
I
so.
mean,
Yeah,
this is everybody coming back after a long layoff and chomping at the bit to play. So that's going to be great. And Arlene Grocery, I mean, that's a legendary spot, and I know they were struggling to stay open, and through some Facebook money raising things, they were able to do that. So
right.
bravo to
And
that
that's
place.
the key when things like this happen, when venues close due to some unforeseen tragedy or what have you. If you can ride out the storm, you're going to be much better off for it, because all the people who went to the venues that closed are going to need other venues to go to, and
Right.
You'll be one of them. And so sometimes you may have to go through a bit of a struggle to stay open, but once the calm happens after the storm, in this case, everything will work out your way. So I'm glad they survived it. I love the venue. We're really looking forward to getting back there. And Arlene was my mom's name, so anytime we can do a venue that's so near and dear to my heart in that way, I'm very happy about that.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And of course, well, David, where'd you go? Well, I don't know. David decided to, I don't know whether Rena came in wielding a baseball bat or whatever, but David slightly disappeared.
I don't know. I hope that doesn't keep happening.
I told everybody I thought I saw Rena in the background with a baseball bat, and everything went black.
Let's hope it doesn't keep doing that. I don't, because nothing is wrong with the connection right now, obviously.
No, you sound great. You look great.
It's not glitching. It's clear. Maybe my internet just went down for a second.
Power surge.
Let's see what else is new and exciting. You know what? I should have brought some new releases into the record room, but I didn't. So I don't have, or do I? No, I don't really have anything to show at the moment that's brand new. We'll save that for next time.
We've both been listening to, I told you, we've talked about the new Wanderlust and and the new Delamitri. I've been listening to both of those kind of nonstop, and there's some new record CDs coming up in the very near future, and I believe we might even tie in some special guests with some new releases that I think there's one or two guests that people are going to go, whoa, how'd they do that? So. Yeah. That's why
next week we have a pretty special show with the Gem Records roster.
Yep.
Many people on Gem, the label that's owned and operated by Marty Scott. Hey, Nigel, good to see you. We just started, so you didn't miss much. John will be on in a few minutes. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. I love virtually everybody on Gem.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, it's a great compilation, and to have a few of those folks on here with us next week is going to be it's going to be a good one. So anybody who's watching, make sure you share this and tell them to subscribe to the Facebook group or the YouTube channel so they don't miss a lot of these great interviews coming up. Don't miss, David and I talking about new releases and vintage repro baseball jerseys. I mean.
Speaking of baseball, did you watch the All-Star game yesterday?
I watched it sporadically. That's probably the best word for it.
Right. Me too.
Yeah, I don't know. It was sporadic.
What do you think about the Astros players not showing up because they were concerned about being booed?
Weird.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, they got to get over that.
Got to get over it.
It happened. They paid the price. It's time to move on. And, if the fans get on them, it's not like they haven't dealt with that when they played regular season games. By now, they should be immune to it.
They should
be. Whatever. It would have been nice to see them show up. But, I did like their tribute to Hank Aaron, which is one of the reasons I'm wearing this jersey. Right. So that was really nice. Yeah, that was really nice. So,
and a local kid here from Haddonfield was just taken in the 6th round by the Astros, first pick of the 6th round. So,
oh wow,
yeah.
What's his name? Do you know?
Joey Loperfido. If any of the friends or family of the Loperfidos are watching, I actually called a Haddonfield game one time. They asked me to do the PA announcing for it, and I remember. This kid came up, they were all raving about him. I said, Joey Loperfido. And I think he flew out to right field or something. And then he went on to have a stellar career at Duke and was drafted in the 6th round by the Astros. So,
One of the things my friend Nick and I used to love to do in the late 80s was go to A-ball games because, in California, we have a lot of A teams around this area. Did I see the Euro? Oh, yeah, I saw a lot of it. I feel really, really badly for the guys who missed the penalty kicks and had to deal with racist responses. That's just such bullshit.
Terrible.
You know, I mean, screw those people who did that. It's so unfair. But you know, it's unfortunately a byproduct of just how seriously people take football there.
And what I mean, I came over to the first time I came to IPO Liverpool, Bruce Brodeen and I went to Anfield to see Liverpool versus Everton. I had never seen an English football match, and we actually didn't have tickets. And we got there the day before, found a back door and we peeked in, and the security guard said, "What are you doing here?" And he actually brought us in after we said, "We're from the USA. We don't have a clue. Don't have a ticket." He brought us in.
That's awesome.
We got to stand on the field. I have a picture of Bruce and I standing on the field.
On the pitch, Mark.
On the pitch. Whatever it's called. The pitch. And pitchfork. And, you know, the whole thing is empty. And then they gave us tickets for the next day. And the security guard's daughter was in charge of all concessions in the entire stadium. And they gave us these free passes. Any beer and food we wanted was free on them. And we got toasted and had the best time of our lives. We actually went out and bought Everton shirts so we could wear it the next day and stand in the crowd and not look like a bunch of idiots. it was a great
Wore
time.
The blue, huh?
Yep, wore the blue. The Everton.
Yeah, because you know, when we do IPO in Liverpool, it's usually around the time of what is it? I'm trying to remember the name of their cup. Not the Euro Cup, obviously, but the more regional one. And I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting to see the rivalry between between Liverpool and Everton. I mean, people who don't live in Liverpool, they figure everybody who lives there must be a Liverpool fan, but no, a lot of Everton fans.
A lot of Everton fans. Yeah,
Liverpool people are the best. Trust me. Well, I love them. You don't have to convince me or Mark. He's been there.
Talking about Liverpool, shall we use this?
Nice segue. Nice yeah.
Segue? David, I'll go turn this over to you, and you can bring on a very special guest.
It's my honor to do so. This gentleman has been a very good friend of mine for almost 30 years now. He's one of the original power pop journalists. Been doing it since the mid 80s, I guess. And, besides writing reviews and articles and liner notes, and besides being a drummer extraordinaire, he's also an author of several books, a few on power pop, but most recently, and I'm sure you'll put up the graphic right now, but I have it here too, the Beatles 100 pivotal moments in Beatles history, and it's getting a lot of great press, deservedly so, because it's an awesome book. So without further ado, would you please give a huge Material Issues welcome to Mr. John Borack.
Hey, guys.
There he is.
Great to see you, John.
Good to see you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
Nice. Well, congratulations on a fantastic book. This is book number 4, is it 4?
Number 4, 2 power pop books, a John Lennon book, and this new Beatles book.
Yes, indeed. Now, what I had said earlier to David that, there's so many Beatles books out there, and you get so tired of reading the same old thing, and it's tough to find a different take on a Beatles book. And what you've done with this Beatles 100 pivotal moments is truly a different take on Beatles books, and I think any Beatle fan would be very interested in reading something different as far as Beatle books go. So
well, first of all, thank you for the kind words. I tried to take a little bit of a different tact here, just because, like you said, the Beatles have been covered to death for so many years, and a couple of my other books involved lists, and people like reading lists. It sparks a lot of conversation, sometimes controversy, but people find it interesting, and they agree or they disagree. And so I thought, combine my love of making lists with the best band ever, and not only cover their career as Beatles, but also their solo career, and then it also allows me to sort of rank their albums in order of importance to me anyway. So it was a lot of fun to write. Lots of fun.
Well, one of the things I really love about the book is, to quote Teenage Fan Club, everything flows. I mean, you've always had a really fluid writing style. And one of the reasons that this book is so easy to read is because of that flow. And you just don't want to put it down. You know, every time you read one moment, it's like, oh, this just went. I mean, I went through this so easily, and there was so much info. Let's go to the next one, and then before you know it, you're on the next 10. And this is one of the more enjoyable books I've read. Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess if I do have a style, it's a sort of breezy, I guess, easy to read sort of style, and I tried to continue that with this, and also tried to get some quotes in there that maybe people hadn't read or hadn't seen in a while, as opposed to the old ones you see time and time and time again. John's Aunt Mimi saying the guitar's all right, John, but you'll never earn your living by it. Everyone's heard that a million times. So I tried to get some different ones in there. It involved a lot of research, reading other Beatles books, reading things online, reading articles, newspapers, magazines. I mean, the bibliography alone took me a long time to put together. So, yeah, it was just so much fun to kind of revisit everything, and kind of try to look at it in maybe a little bit of a different way than how it had been covered previously.
Well, I'll tell you what, and I had posted this on Facebook a week ago when you sent me a copy of the book, and not to ruin anything for anybody, but you got to read the beginning and the foreword when I told you it really touches your heart in some of the things you talk about with your daughter, which made me get a little weepy eyed there, and memories of my own daughter being young. And then I said, okay, I'm going to flip through the first couple of pages. I don't have time to really read this right now. And first couple of pages turned into half the book. I couldn't put it down, and it got late. I was starting to get tired. So I finished it in day number 2. It's a great read, but for anybody looking for not only great Beatles information, but just a fine flowing, easy read type of a book, that it's going to make you kind of start off by going, okay. That's what I did. I'm big enough to admit it.
This book is a sort of a culmination of a long-standing pop life. So let's kind of start at the beginning. I don't mean at the actual beginning, like I did. I mean, how did you get into pop music? Did you have influences from your family, friends, or did you just kind of find it on your own?
Well, it's funny you said the book is the culmination of a pop life, because it makes it sound like I'm going to be dying within the next couple of
years. I know. I thought about that.
I don't.
You'll be here
on that happening yet, but
stay tuned for a big announcement in 10 minutes from now.
my final appearance is right here on Material Issues.
I knew it. I knew that was going to happen.
Anyway, because they asked me, John, if you could do one thing before you died, what would you want to do? And I said, well, appear on Material Issues, and here I am. So if I do nothing else, I've made it. Anyway, to answer your question, I've always been a Beatles fan. Age of 5, my dad bought me the "All You Need Is Love, Baby You're a Rich Man" single. I played it to death, on the original Capitol orange and yellow swirl label. And from then I just, started getting more and more into the Beatles. And, my dad bought me a drum set. I would play the drums out in the garage and played along to Beatles songs, during my elementary school, middle school, high school years. And then right around 1985 or so, I was a subscriber to Goldmine magazine. And I thought, you know what? I love music and I love writing. Why couldn't I write about music? So I wrote a letter. That's what you did back in the old days, kids. You actually put pen to paper and you wrote a letter. And
What's a pen?
Well, it looks a lot like this. Something similar to this. I sent a letter to the editor at the time of Goldmine, Jeff Tamarkin, and I said, I would love to write about music for your magazine, whether it's the Beatles or, I was just sort of getting into power pop music then, but I wasn't even sure what it was called at that point. But I knew I liked stuff like Badfinger and Raspberries and Big Star, that sort of thing. So I sent Jeff a letter, and he sent me a letter back saying, send me samples of something you've written. So that meant I had to write something because I hadn't written anything up to that point. So I wrote some kind of fake reviews. I forget what they were of. And I sent them to Jeff, and he said, sure, go for it. Started assigning me reviews. Back then it was myself and Carl Caffarelli from This Is Rock and Roll Radio. We were the two Goldmine pop guys. We would virtually arm wrestle over who got to review, the new Rubinoos CD or whatever. But that's where I started writing, and been with Goldmine ever since. I'm now a contributing editor, doing mainly reviews and sometimes feature articles. Interviewed Cheap Trick back in the 90s, which was a lot of fun. Interviewed Graham Parker, which was very nerve-wracking because he has this sort of reputation for not suffering fools gladly, and I was petrified I might say the wrong thing and he would just go off on me. But he was great. Even sent me a note afterwards, saying how much he enjoyed the interview. And he also mentioned that he thought Jellyfish was the best band in the world at that time. This was the mid-90s, which I thought was a pretty cool thing. So from there, I just started writing for other outlets. I wrote for a lot of different fanzines and whatnot. And now it's pretty much exclusively Goldmine, both online. I have a column on their website, and then also for the print version of the magazine, and then writing books, and that's pretty much what I do.
And like you, I didn't really know what to call that kind of music. You were mentioning Badfinger and the Raspberries and all that. It was all, as I mentioned last week to Mark, it was all pop. Whatever it was, that was all linked. It was all linked with Supertramp and 10cc and anybody else who had who did melodic stuff. But eventually, we started calling it power pop. And I know for me, one of the reasons was Yellow Pills magazine. It was all pop. That's when I did that. Calling it power pop, and
That's me. Sorry.
I love the sound of my voice, but I don't need to hear it right.
It's just
Look at this. What is going on?
Sorry about that. My right hand's just too shaky.
Mark loved what you said so much, David. He wanted to hear it again.
I wanted to hear it again. It's like instant replay in baseball. You've got a baseball shirt on, right?
There you go. Anyway, so when I discovered Yellow Pills, two things happened. One, the term power pop became part of my vernacular, and the other was that I discovered that there was a power pop community out there. Who knew? Did you have similar responses to the magazine?
Yeah, I loved Yellow Pills, Oddities, Pop Sided, all the fanzines, but of course Yellow Pills was kind of the first one in the 90s that brought pop into prominence, and that was Jordan Oakes and his really cool and unique writing style and the stuff that he was writing about. Just made it really, really fun to read. And I later found out that Jordan was reading my reviews in Goldmine before I even knew who he was, and then we sort of connected. And I think I met you in the early 90s, and then Jordan a few years later when he came out for, was Poptopia or IPO? I don't remember.
It was Poptopia. And
okay.
Did you have the same response? I went to pick him up at the airport, and I didn't know what he looked like because he never had a photo of himself in Yellow Pills. There was no internet to speak of. So I'm just waiting for this guy. And all of a sudden, I see some sort of geeky looking guy, and I think it's him. Because we're all geeks after all, and it wasn't. And then I see this rock star looking dude. He kind of looks like Dwight Twilley, but even more fit. And he's wearing these tight clothes. I was like, could that be him? I think we were all kind of shocked, right?
I honestly didn't really think too much about his appearance, but Jordan doesn't look like your average pop fan, I suppose, but. Yeah, he's fit as a fiddle. That Jordan, he's. No,
he looked a little bit like he looked like he could have been a model in a magazine. He
looks more like a rock
people
star.
Like that.
That sounds like the Ruddles guys.
He looks more like a rock star than the three of us.
Pants.
We'll say that.
Yeah, that's for sure.
We'll say that. Yeah.
Oh Lord.
He's no more Hershberger, but he's okay.
We were commiserating last week about, I was talking about, Tower Records that went under. Tower Records always had the huge magazine section and zines, and that's where I found so much of this stuff, and I remember every month going there hoping Oddities was out and Pop Sided and everything else you could find, and loading up on it, and then just like when the Not Lame catalog came out, boom, you just sat
right. Well, to me, that's the great thing about this whole, if you want to call it a power pop scene or whatever. The music's been wonderful, obviously, but I've made some really, really good lifelong friends through this music. People like David, people like Jordan, all the way up to, Bruce Brodeen, who you mentioned earlier, dozens and dozens of others, all the way up to the current day, folks like Rex Broom and Christina Balbenko from Big Stir and Steve Coulter from the Brothers Steve, and just some really, really cool people. And to me, it's really, it's not that the music is secondary, but it's kind of tied for me with the friendship aspect of it. And it's been really, really cool.
It's very communal. And, the people involved in this scene, as I'm sure you would agree, they're mostly without pretension. It's not like some of the other scenes.
Mostly, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a lot of the other scenes which have more of an identity, and people are wearing the clothes, and let's see if I can outdo your wardrobe, and let's see if I can outdo your collection and that kind of thing. But with the power pop people, I mean, everybody's just cool, don't you think?
For the most part, yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah.
There really is a communal feeling, and you feel that when you go to an IPO show or a Big Stir show, or whatever, and you see people who, they like the same things that you do, and some of them think the same way that you do, and you not only talk about music, but you talk about your families and you talk about your friends, and it's just a really cool thing. It's and it's the same way with the Beatles community. It's a little bit of a bigger scale, obviously, but I've met some really cool people through that as well. Right, and you forge those friendships in the beginning based on music, but then they kind of go to another level, and it's nice to see them continue. Like you said, I've known you for almost 30 years. I've known Jordan for probably 25, and those Oddities guys, Gary and Anthony, were good friends at the beginning, and just everyone, the Spider Pop guys now, or, Victor and Alan, Lanny, Danny Wilkerson, all those guys, just some of my best friends, just great people.
Spider Pop Records, being one of the labels at the forefront of the power pop scene now. Yes.
Yeah, and then all the way, you reach back to people like Steven Spaz Schnee. I've known Spaz for almost as long as I've known you. I think you introduced us. And, Spaz is a really good friend, and, Mike Lidskin, and just tons and tons of people. I could go on, but it's a really cool scene, and it's nice to, it's nice to connect with these people in person. It's nice to connect with them on Facebook, and, nice to have those friendships in addition to the great music.
And speaking of the great music and whatnot, and again, not to spoil anything because people have to read it in the book, but you do list your 10 favorite Beatles tunes of all time, which is great. Now, we do know that you may not live through the rest of this live feed. We've established that already, but
thanks, Mark. I appreciate that.
Here's a question.
I'll never live this down.
I know. But when you listed your top 10, it really does run the gamut of their entire career. There's things that are very, very different in your list from each other, and it's a great top 10 list. It's impossible to make a top 10 list as far as I'm concerned. But if you're turning around right now in that big wall of CDs or whatever you have behind you, or vinyl, or whatever you like to play, and you're grabbing one Beatles album, you can only grab one and stick it on right now and sit back and go like this. Is there an album that you reach for?
Oh, there is. And it's not one that people would normally list as their favorite, but it's mine. And it would be the UK version of A Hard Day's Night. 14 songs, the first album where the Beatles wrote all their own material and didn't do any covers. No, I'm not a Pirates fan. I felt sorry for Mark because he's a Pirates fan. I was trying to kiss up a little bit, whoever asked that question. Anyway, Hard Day's Night. Yeah, A Hard Day's Night is my favorite. There's some great songs on there. As I mentioned in the book, it's almost very nearly John Lennon's first solo album, because 10 of the 13 songs on that record were mainly composed by him. Right, and he was really on fire in terms of compositions, and it was when he had that sort of competition going with Paul at the time, and just great song after great song after great song. And even the ones that, maybe aren't as well known as A Hard Day's Night or I Should Have Known Better, really, really great stuff, all of it. And so that's the one that I pull out and listen to. It's even more fun now that, about 3 months ago, I joined a Beatles cover band. We're called Let It Be, and we play in and around LA and Orange County. And that's given me a whole new respect for that album, because there's some drumming on that album. When you even attempt to get anywhere near it, it's just so difficult. And that's one of the things I think that made Ringo such a great drummer, is he made difficult stuff sound easy. Try to play the intro to Tell Me Why, which is on the Hard Day's Night album. If you're a drummer, try and play that intro. It's not easy. Try and play, coming out of the bridge. There's like a little drum fill there. Now I'm getting really geeky on drums, but little drum fill coming out of the bridge on Tell Me Why, where it's just and it's like, oh my God, how did he do that? How did he do that? It's just incredible.
I guess his 1971 hit was apropos, because it didn't come easy.
It don't come easy. You're right. But yeah, that would be my favorite overall. Just so much wonderful stuff, and kind of the beginning of what made the Beatles what they would become.
And your list involves, you talk about in your list drumming. I'm just trying to remember, like 6 out of your 10 things you write about, you say listen to Ringo's drums on this track or whatnot. Now you've been a drummer for a lot of years. Have you ever played any other instruments at all, or drums your primary instrument?
Just drums. I cannot sing. I cannot play any other instruments. I can play the guitar riff to Smoke on the Water if I'm struggling a bit, but that's about it.
And this was the interesting thing, because a lot of us knew John for, we all started to get to know each other through Poptopia and IPO. And a lot of us, we didn't know John was a musician for a while. He was kind of, he I don't know that he was being circumspect or what. Is he frozen right now?
John's either frozen or he did actually expire. I don't know.
John, are you there?
No, there you go. Now I see in here. I'm not sure what happened. Sorry about that, guys.
It's a connection.
We got worried.
I was saying was that
I'm actually in David's living room, and that's why my connection was so bad.
You're really just right here to the side of him.
Yeah, what I was saying was, we all knew you through Poptopia and IPO and your writing, and we didn't know for many years that you were a drummer. I remember the first time I saw you drum, it was at Brennan's, I think. I can't remember which band you were in, but I remember a lot of people out there were saying, "What? He's a drummer too?" And,
well, that's because I wasn't really a drummer at that time. I played drums when I was a kid. I'm self-taught. Just banged the drums in my parents' garage up until I was around 24, 25 and moved out of their house, and then gave it up till I turned around about 40 years old. And then I started again. And, Mike Simmons is the one, I guess he either gets the credit or the blame, depending on how you look at it, for getting me back into drumming, because I would go over his house, in the early 2000s, late 90s. He had this great studio in his house in Fullerton. We would just mess around playing. I just started playing again. And then from there, it involved me playing drums, joining our praise band at church. And then, Ken West invited me to join the band Receiver. And then Don McGill invited me to join the Dons. And then, a bunch of different bands came after that. So, I wasn't really a drummer. It just sort of happened again after turning 40.
But you were really good from the get-go, though. I mean, I think a lot of people, because we didn't know you were a drummer, we thought you were kind of maybe just, having some fun. And when we saw how good you were, we were very pleasantly surprised.
That's very kind of you to say. I still don't think I'm that good. I'm serviceable. And, my drumming idols are Ringo, of course, Bunny Carlos, Clem Burke from Blondie, and Rick Mank. And all of those people, except for maybe Clem, they play to serve the song. There's not a lot of flashy fills. There's not a lot of all over the kit. They don't go all Keith Moon on you and that kind of stuff. I try to do that too. I try to serve the song for two reasons. Number one, because that's what I like to do. I'm no Neil Peart. Obviously, technically, I'm not even close to anyone, but So it's because it's the style I like to play, and because really it's the only style that I can play. So I just play what I like. I like to have fun. I enjoy doing it, and again, met so many great people being in bands, and I'm really enjoying being in not only the Let It Be cover band now, but also the Armoires. Shout out to Rex and Christina and Larissa and Clifford and the rest of the band. Love you guys, and love playing with them. And we've got some stuff coming up here soon, I think. We're going to start rehearsing for, so that'll be cool. And then, love playing with the Test Pressings. I play with Robbie Rist and Karen Bassett. We do all 70s covers, and that's really a lot of fun. And then getting ready to go back to Arlington and play with the Used Electrics, my friend Victor Irwin from Spider Pop Records, and some people over there. We do an hour's worth of 70s punk covers, New York Dolls, the Ramones, The Clash. I think I lose about 15 pounds in sweat every time we play a gig. Then I get it back the next day when I eat barbecue. So it kind of balances out. But yeah, it's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
You got to have Sonic Reducer in there somewhere, right?
It's funny. It is. This year, the first time Sonic Reducer is in our set list.
Nice. All right.
I want to mention. I want to tell
shout
people
out to
about.
Stiv.
I want to tell people about the time that you and I first met, and I'm trying to remember. Was it Jordan or was it Darian Sahanaja that told me to contact you?
Darian told me to contact you. I'm not sure what he told you, but the way I met David. Let me tell you a story. There used to be this magazine you would get at Tower Records called BAM magazine here in California. I think it stood for Bay Area Music, but it covered all of California. And it was a freebie you'd get when you checked out at Tower Records. And so I picked that up and at Tower. And in there was a review of the Wonderment's original cassettes. Their original demos were on cassette. And this is back before email. So it had, for information, contact Darian Sahanaja, and it had his phone number.
Oh, yeah.
So I called him. He answered. We spoke. And then he said, you should really meet my friend David Bash. He's really into pop music, too. And so I think I called David, and that's how we met. And it's interesting, too, because I met Mike Simmons, one of my best friends and bandmate in the Pop Dudes, another band that I play and record with. I met Mike the same way through I was in a record store, and Sparkle Jets UK, his band's album was up at the checkout counter, and it said something like only $3.99. Sounds like the Beatles and ELO. And I thought, wow, that sounds good to me. And for $3.99, I'll take a chance. And by that time there was email. So I think I emailed Mike after I heard the record, and that's how we met. And then I think a year or two later, he was playing IPO and Pop Dudes started. And, the rest is will live in infamy, I suppose.
Well, what I wanted to point out was, so John called me. We had a nice conversation, and he invited me over to his place. And, we had talked about power pop, and I was really arrogant at the time. I figured nobody could possibly know any power pop that I don't, So I come over to John's place, and suddenly he's playing me these bands I'd never even heard of, and they were awesome. One of the ones I'll never forget was the Gravelberries, the band that Paul Myers had. See how things come full circle with Rare Bird and the whole bit. But he played me the Gravelberries, Wonder Where You Are Tonight. And I remember telling John, this is the best power pop song I've heard in a long time. Part of it was I just couldn't believe I didn't know it. And then, and you played me Cheapskate stuff. I knew them only as a garage band. I thought they quit after their first album. And you're playing me these power pop albums they did later. And it's like, wow, this guy really knows his shit. And I felt badly because I didn't have any records with me. I couldn't turn you on to anything. But then I remember you came over to my place a few weeks later, and I was playing you 60s soft pop that you didn't know. And I wasn't sure you were going to like it. It seemed like you were just a power pop guy. Then I'm playing you the Yellow Balloon and the Fun and Games. You're going, this is awesome. I felt like, okay, I pulled my weight here. But
no, it's, nobody knows everything, and you can always learn more about any genre. I mean, anytime you think you know everything about anything, you probably don't.
For sure.
I just love music, whether it's 60s, 70s, power pop, Beatles. I love 70s soul. I love 50s, 60s rockabilly. I mean, I'm more than just a power pop or Beatles guy, but I can't tell you the number of times people have come, oh, you won't like this because it's not power pop, or you won't like it. It doesn't sound like the Beatles. Like, well, no, I like more
Tell
than
me about it. Yeah.
like more than just that. So yeah,
Well, it's the music like that is like wines or bourbons or things. There's so much out there that you don't even know where it exists until somebody tells you, hey, try this, and then for years I had no idea outside of like the Cardigans or what that there were Scandinavian pop and power pop bands that were incredible. I had no clue. And then friend of mine out of Canada sent me a compilation CD, and I was just like, whoa, it opened up a world to me that is still expanding in all the Scandinavian
Was that Luke
countries.
Jackson?
Luke Jackson. And just blew my mind. I was like, why haven't, because they don't get played over here. And
right.
Unless someone turns you on to them, you're completely clueless. So
just a funny Luke Jackson story, and this has you may have heard it already. This has nothing to do with the pop collector. This has to do with the basketball player that played on the Philadelphia 76ers in the late 60s. Wilt Chamberlain was on that team also. This is short. He was on this, ironically, Wilt Chamberlain. They were on the team. They were doing practice, and I guess Jackson and Chamberlain were getting kind of rough under the boards, and I guess Chamberlain got too rough with Jackson, or so he thought. So Jackson threw a punch at him. Wilt Chamberlain apparently caught the punch and said to him, I wouldn't do that again if I were you. And needless to say, he didn't. But I digress.
John, you're a list person. Are you keeping any new lists for future projects right now?
There's something I'm thinking about, but I haven't really finalized it yet, so I don't want to talk about it. But there is something I'm thinking about for the next book.
Now you carry a little book around with you and write things down, or do you do it on your cell phone, or how do you?
No, I'm a big note taker, a big list maker, like on little note cards, and I do that for things I need to do on a daily basis. I'll make lists of stuff I need to do on any given day. So, and I do the same thing with music and stuff I want to purchase, stuff I want to download, whatever. I'll make lists of that too. But the Beatles stuff it's just the list it was so easy to do. It was just so easy to do because there's so much to write about. They're so interesting as people, as a phenomenon, and also as, of course, musicians and singer-songwriters. Just so much to cover. I could have done 200.
In the book, you make mention also of the BBC Beatles releases, the big box set and all that kind of stuff. Prior to a lot of those things coming out, did you search down Beatles? Let's say not completely legal bootlegs, so to speak, because you were that much of a Beatles fan? And
bootlegs, so to speak. You mean unofficial recording?
Unofficial recording. I'm trying to think of the politically correct way to say. Did you collect Screaming Pig or
Yes, to answer your question, yes, I have a crap ton of bootlegs, and I still have them.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff didn't end up on Anthology 1, 2, or 3 or the BBC collection, so it's fun to have it. But yeah, I mean, pretty much, one of my favorite things to listen to on YouTube by the Beatles is not even music, but if you search this out, it's there. It's 20 minutes of them recording the background vocals to the song Think for Yourself from Rubber Soul.
Wow.
And it's just them going back and forth, joking, being silly, being funny, working, George Harrison trying to get them back on task, and John and Paul just having this running ridiculous dialogue, which is hilarious. At one point, John comes back from the bathroom and he's singing a Beatles song, but he changes the words. So instead of "Do you want to know a secret?" he's singing, "Listen, do you want to hold a penis?" That kind of stuff. While ridiculous, just as a Beatles fan, just makes me smile.
It's excellent.
Everything that they do, just hearing them in the studio. That's why I can't wait for the Let It Be film to come out, because there's so much joy there between them and in the music. It really shines through.
Yeah, because everything you've heard about the upcoming Let It Be Peter Jackson film is that from what we've always seen from the original Let It Be, it made it look like it was just an acrimonious, terrible breakup that they didn't enjoy being in the room. And now you're reading that what we're going to see is probably very opposite of what we've always thought. And
yeah, I think a little bit of that is revisionist history on the part of Peter Jackson and maybe Paul and Ringo.
Right.
But as with anything, the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle. There were bad times, there were good times, but through it all, they remained friends. Even when they were sniping at each other, particularly John and Paul and George in the early 70s, up through the late 70s, and then 1980 John passed away. But even when they were sniping at each other, you could tell there was a deep love there and a deep respect. In the John Lennon the Playboy interview he did not long before he passed away, he talks about what a great bass player Paul was, and how half the stuff that was going on in the late 70s was directly ripped off from his Beatles period. I remember reading that quote, and then I saw a little clip of the new Paul McCartney series that's going to be on Hulu, I think, coming up in a few weeks here. And Rick Rubin mentions that quote to Paul, and Paul had never heard it. He said, "Who said that? Did I say it?"
I know this is completely unprofessional. Excuse me.
That's it.
But
tears. He's got to get a tissue. A material tissue, actually. Sorry. Anyway,
material tissue.
But hearing stuff like that.
Selling those next week.
Hearing stuff like that, it makes you realize that they remained friends.
Yeah.
And while the music was important, the friendship, deep down was important to them as well, even if they always didn't get along.
Well, I think I'm looking forward to that documentary. Kind of, number one, the quality is supposed to be incredibly incredibly better than the original. But just to see, because I didn't know that they filmed pretty much everything with 9 cameras. So many things that we originally saw, now they've got eight different other camera angles that they have to choose from and play with, which is really interesting.
And I guess I was reading an article the other day. It took so long to edit it because everything wasn't synced up, apparently, like with clapperboards and that sort of stuff that you do when you're shooting film. So they're having to go back and drop in the music to the different video takes and kind of sync everything up. And that's why it took, I think, over 2 years to edit the damn thing. And they're still editing it, as far as I know. It's not even done yet.
It's going to be great, though.
For Beatles fans, it's like the Holy Grail,
Yeah.
And then this is another. You were mentioning new things that have come out. This is kind of like the Holy Grail, also.
Oh my God,
the new
can't wait for that
box. Yeah. I've heard it, and just hearing those songs without all the Spectre goop poured all over it. There's some stuff, when I was listening to What Is Life, I was thinking, I don't remember that. Well, it's probably because I couldn't hear it before with all Spectre's stuff just slopped all over it. And it really is a revelation just to hear this stuff.
I'm one of those people who loves the Spectre group. I never had a problem with Let It Be. But yeah, I look forward to hearing this, just as you said. One of the things about the John Lennon first album box was hearing stuff that you never heard before when they streamed Spectre. So yeah, I think a lot of us are really can't wait. I wanted to say something else. One of the things I've complimented John on for many years. Unlike most record people, John has a lot of balance in his life. He always has. I mean, besides being into music the way he is, he's great family man, amazing dad. He's worked in in various communities of Orange County doing community relations. He goes to church every Sunday. It's amazing with all the balance.
Most Sundays.
With all the balance that you have, with all the time that it takes to devote to all of those things, what made you decide to put all the time in necessary to start writing books?
Boy, now I really feel like I'm going to die soon. This feels like my obituary, like my pre-obituary. First of all, David, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. I was telling somebody today, I just love communicating. whether it's talking to people one-on-one, or whether it's writing, or whether it's playing music, or whether it's, you know, doing an in-person presentation about community issues or whatever. I just love communicating. And one of the ways I found I can communicate most effectively is via the written word. And I just enjoy doing it. And I enjoy playing music, obviously, but I enjoy even more seeing people or watching people enjoy the music. And that's why being in a Beatles cover band is so amazing. Everyone knows the words. Everyone loves it. They're singing along. They come up to you afterwards and say, "Oh my gosh, this music meant so much to me," you know, and that really makes me feel good. You know, it's not what I'm doing. It's just kind of spreading a little bit of joy out there. And so if I can do that, whether it's, you know, writing or playing music, or, you know, being a dad or assisting in my community, I just love communicating, and I'm a real people person. I love most people. So it's well, someone asked where my dog was. Lucy, come here, Lucy. Now she's looking at me. Anyway, my dog is right here. One dog is right here. But no, speaking of being a family man, my kids inspire everything that I do, and it's cool that they're both Beatles fans. You know, Mark mentioned the foreword to my book, which features a little portion about myself and my daughter Kayla going to the Paul McCartney concert at Dodger Stadium, where Ringo came out and played on the encore. An amazing experience, and even more of an amazing experience to share it with my daughter, because, you know, as I mentioned in the book, I grew up singing Beatles songs to her at bedtime when I'd rock her to sleep, you know, and she loves the Beatles now. She's got Beatles shirts and Beatles records and CDs and everything. And, you know, my son Michael's a Beatles fan too. You know, he asked for the White Album for his birthday a couple years ago. And, you know, he's got a couple Beatle posters hanging in his room. And so it's nice that I'm able to share that with them as well. So they sort of, you know, everyone around here sort of tolerates my Beatledom because they can appreciate it a little bit.
Now, do they also enjoy your love of power pop? Are they along the same lines as far as bands like that go? Or they're
way too cool for that.
Yeah, no, they're. I mean, you know, they don't really get into power pop much. They don't, you know, they don't say turn it off if I have it playing in the house or in the car. Yeah. And they might say, oh, I really like that song. You know, my family really loves Mike Simmons' solo album, as do I. First Days of Summer. You know, they really love that. And they really love Danny Wilkerson's solo album too. Kayla was able to meet Danny a few years ago at my Shake Some Action 2 Power Pop book release party, part of a big Stir event out in Burbank. So that was cool. So, but for the most part, no, they like, you know, Michael likes a lot of 60s and 70s stuff, which is really cool. And Kayla's into, you know, she really likes Taylor Swift and now Olivia Rodrigo, who has a few songs I really like as well. Yeah. And, you know, more current stuff. But yeah,
I gotta see, you know, to this day, my daughters who are 26 and 22 can still sing the lyrics to Popium tunes and Pendletones and a lot of the Scandinavian stuff I used to then play to death once I get into it.
Wow.
So, yeah,
that is admirable.
It is something. I can't believe they can remember that. We'll go for out to dinner and I'll stick something on and they'll be like, da, 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 and they're singing along. And I was like, holy, you were this big. But that's awesome.
So what you're saying is brainwashing does work.
It's exactly it. Repetition. Withhold food and water until they get it down right.
Exactly.
No, but that, you know, that dovetails nicely with something that I've said for many, many years, and that, you know, if you present any kind of music right to kids, they're gonna eat it up. You know, it's a shame. Unfortunately, it's a shame that, you know, what's being played on the radio now has taken hold the way it has. But
what kind of mix is he, John?
This is Lucy.
Lucy.
And it's funny because she came with the name Lucy when we rescued her. Hi, Lulu. And Kayla always wanted a dog named Lucy, she said, because she loves the song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. So it all kind of dovetails together. She's a Chihuahua Terrier mix.
That's exactly. I held up Ches. That's exactly what Ches is. Chihuahua Terrier.
Lucy, look. Oh, now, yeah.
David, you can go use your material tissues again.
I'm just going to hold up my Canamit bobblehead because
Well, there you
that's
go.
all I got.
That's
I got no dogs. Aw,
You've got a
Canamit,
cat.
you're so sweet.
Say
You guys
hi
have
to
a
Lou.
cat, right?
Huh?
You guys have a cat.
That's true, but she does not like being held by me anyway. Rena can hold her. Yeah.
Most cats don't enjoy. Yeah.
It's a great looking dog. I love it. I love it.
Anyway. But you know,
Yeah, I have no dogs. I have no
thing-
kids. I'm totally left out of this. But it's cute watching you do it.
One other thing I did want to mention about the Beatles book is that I'm really thrilled with the response it's getting so far. The official publication date was just yesterday, so now it's going to be in bookstores and whatever. It's been available online for a little while for pre-order, but I'm just so gratified that people seem to really be enjoying it. And it was a long road. I began writing portions of this in probably 2012. It originally was supposed to be a Paul McCartney book that came after my 2010 John Lennon book, and then a bunch of issues happened we won't go into, but ended up repurposing a lot of that content for this book. And then around 2016, 17, I decided to go in the direction that I went in here. And I just wanted to say thank you to all the folks at Rare Bird, because they've been so wonderful to work with. Not only with the Beatles 100, but also with Go All the Way and Go Further. I've was fortunate enough to be asked to write chapters in each of those books. David has a chapter in Go All the Way as well. And both those were on Rare Bird. So they're not only they're not just a book publishing company, they're great people and they're music fans. So I would encourage everyone, free commercial here, go to the Rare Bird website. There's some great stuff there. The Go All the Way, Go Further, books about power pop. There's also a great Joe Walsh biography there. There's an association biography there, just lots of cool stuff. So yeah, kudos to them. Someone wants to know my favorite Beatles song. Oh, well, we didn't go for that question yet, did we, Mark?
No, we just talked about you have a top 10 list. I figured they'd have to buy the book to see number one, but
I'll mention number one as long as Adrienne Myers Wilbur promises to buy the book, and I'm sure she will, right, Adrienne? You will. You may have already bought it. No, you didn't buy it. No. Well, now you got to buy it. So, well, I may be telling the truth here. I may not. How about if we do it that way? That way, we'll keep it in suspense. For a long time, it was Adrienne Says I Will. No, that's not my favorite, Adrienne.
It's not the song. I knew that was coming.
Maybe that wasn't
For a long time, my favorite was And Your Bird Can Sing from Revolver. I just love that twin guitar interplay and the riff, and just love the song. And I still love it, but that was sort of superseded a few years ago by what has now been my favorite for the last few years, You Never Give Me Your Money from Abbey Road. I just love everything about that song. And to me, as I mentioned in the book, it has everything that made the Beatles great. It's got, some fantastic drumming from Ringo. It's got some great harmonies at the end when they're singing the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, All Good Children Go to Heaven. It's got some great guitar on the outro as well. Paul's bass playing is off the charts great, as it was throughout the Beatles' career. And him, it starts off kind of slowly and builds, and that's just a wonderful track. So that would be my favorite Beatles track.
What's your favorite, Mark?
Yeah, I want to know that too.
Okay, many different reasons why, and it's probably very surprising. And there's probably other tracks that I could say I really like this, but the very first Beatles track that I can ever remember hearing was a relative of mine had the Beatles' second album, and she brought me downstairs in the basement where the turntable was, and she put it on. She said, I got to play you my favorite song, and it was Thank You Girl. And to this day, anytime I hear that song, which is rare to hear it out in the wild, you got to kind of put it on at home. That brings me back to a time and place when my head would just went like this. Poosh, what is she playing me? And I was just a little kid at the time, and she had the album, she had terms, and then for Christmas, she gave me the album as a Christmas present. So, so thank you, girl. I mean, as I said, there are much better Beatles songs in many ways, but that one just resonates with me anytime I hear it, big time.
Liquor Giants, the great LA band, did a cover of "Thank You, Girl" at an IPO show in 2001. Actually, that's the show where I got to know Rena, and we had our first date a few days later. So I'll never forget that. My favorite Beatles song is "Getting Better," and the interesting thing about that was when I bought the Red and Blue albums were the first Beatles, or the first anything that I owned, other than what I taped off the radio, and I got Sgt. Pepper about a year later, and I start listening to it, and I know everything that's up to Getting Better because it was on the Blue album. Then I hear Getting Better, and I'm thinking, yeah, that's not as good as, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, or, and the other stuff that's before it. But then the second time I heard the song, something just clicked in, and I thought it was absolutely amazing. And it's never wavered from being my number one. Not for 40 years.
That to me is one of the great things about music. Well, actually, something Mark said and something you said, David, two different things. With Mark is that music can spark so many memories, and so many memories in our lives are tied to music. Whenever I hear, and I'm getting chills just thinking about it, whenever I hear Joy to the World by Three Dog Night, I think of my dad. Whenever I hear Imagine by John Lennon, I think of my dad. And so what you're saying certainly holds true for a lot of people, Mark. And then David, kind of what you just said too, sometimes things don't hit you at first, and then later they do. Like I remember when I first heard the band Shoes, who we all enjoy, I remember thinking, that's okay. It's not great. It's all right. And then for some reason, like, I don't know, 2 months, 3 months later, I put on Present Tense on the turntable. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is one of the best things I've ever heard in my life. Things change and your opinions change a little bit, but yeah, just the feelings that music elicits, it's pretty cool.
And the rest was power pop history. And with that, I guess we have to wind it up, unfortunately, because we the three of us could talk for 4 or 5 more hours easily.
That's why
talk all night. That's
why in the future we need John Borack Part 2, where we just start talking about a lot of songs that mean different things to each of us at different times in our life, and I think that would be a fun conversation as well.
Oh yeah, totally.
And we'll definitely put that on the need to do list very soon.
Absolutely,
it'd be great. Well, John, once again, thank you for the book. Fantastic.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. I wanted to show you guys this to end here. This is something I'm going to give David, but it's a promotional film for the First Material issue album. This is the back of it. The front of it is the International Pop Overthrow cover. But this ain't no British techno pop rap disco skinny butt mall band. This is Material issue. So kudos to you guys for all you're doing with the podcast. Kudos to David for IPO. Glad it's coming back. Looking forward to playing. And thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
It's called The Beatles 100 Pivotal Moments in Beatles History by John Borack. Available at Amazon and all the other places you can buy it online, Barnes & Noble as well. So run out and get it. Guaranteed you're going to love it. And make sure you share this episode. Tell everybody about Material Issues. And we'll be back next week with Gem Records.
The Gem Records people,
yes. A bunch of artists from that label. So, John, thank you again so much.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, John, so much.
Everybody have a great night. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.